Chapter 20. Unity at a Cost. The clearing felt hollow in the aftermath of the battle. Ash and shadows lingered in the air, a faint reminder of the darkness that had threatened to consume them all. Ava knelt beside Seth's still form, her fingers trembling as she traced the faint glow of the glyphs etched into the tome. Around her the wolves stood in silence, their eyes filled with grief and exhaustion. Xander stepped forward, his golden eyes locking onto Ava's. He crouched beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Ava," he said softly, "we need to move. The darkness may be gone, but we're not safe here." She nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Carefully she placed the tome into her bag and rose to her feet. Her gaze lingered on Seth's face, peaceful in death, as if the weight of his oath had finally been lifted. "We'll honor him," Xander said, his voice steady but heavy with sorrow. "But for now, we finish what he started." The pack regrouped at the edge of the forest, the sacred site's energy still pulsing faintly in the background. Elder Mirella stepped forward, her silver-streaked hair catching the dim light of the rising moon. She addressed the wolves, her voice clear and commanding. "Seth's sacrifice has given us a chance," she said, "but the fight is not over. The darkness has been pushed back, but its roots remain. The silver wolf," her gaze shifted to Ava, "must complete the ritual to seal it away." Murmurs rippled through the gathered wolves. Some nodded, their expressions resolute, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Ava stepped forward, the tome in her hands glowing faintly once more. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her chest. "I'll finish the ritual, but I can't do it alone. I need all of you." The wolves quieted, their eyes fixed on her. For a moment doubt flickered in her mind, but then Xander stepped beside her, his presence solid and reassuring. "You're not alone," he said, his voice firm. "We're with you." Luca joined them, his usual smirk replaced with a somber determination. "If we're going down, let's make it worth it." Slowly the wolves began to step forward, their howls filling the night air with a unified resolve. Ava's chest tightened, not with fear, but with hope. For the first time, she felt the weight of her destiny shared by those around her. The ritual began as the moon reached its zenith. Ava stood in the center of the clearing, the tome open before her. Mirella and the elders formed a protective circle around her, their chants harmonizing with the whispers of the book. Xander, Luca, and the other wolves stood at the perimeter, their eyes scanning the darkness for any signs of an attack. Ava's hands glowed as she traced the glyphs in the tome, her voice rising with each word of the incantation. The energy in the clearing shifted, a powerful current of light and shadow swirling together, pulling at the edges of her consciousness. She could feel the darkness resisting, fighting against the light that sought to contain it. "Focus," Mirella said, her voice sharp but supportive. "You're almost there." Ava's vision blurred as the power surged through her. The whispers grew louder, drowning out the chants around her. Her body trembled, every muscle straining to hold the balance between light and shadow. Then she felt it. The darkness surged one last time, a desperate attempt to break free. Ava cried out, the energy overwhelming her, but she held firm. The tome's light flared, blinding in its intensity, as the final glyph locked into place. The clearing was consumed by a brilliant silver glow, the energy rippling outward like a shock wave. When the light faded, the darkness was gone. Ava collapsed to her knees, the tome falling silent in her hands. Xander was at her side in an instant, his arm steadying her as she fought to catch her breath. "It's done," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "The darkness. It's sealed." Mirella approached, her expression a mix of relief and exhaustion. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with quiet pride. "The realm is safe. For now." Ava's gaze fell to the tome, its glyphs dark and still. She thought of Seth, of his sacrifice, and the promise she had made. A tear slipped down her cheek, but she wiped it away, her resolve hardening. "We're not done," she said. "The darkness may be sealed, but its remnants are still out there. We have to stay vigilant." Xander nodded, his golden eyes meeting hers. Then we'll face whatever comes. Together." As the wolves began to disperse, their spirits lifted by their victory, Ava stood at the edge of the clearing, the weight of her destiny settling over her once more. The realm was safe, but the cost had been high, and she knew the fight was far from over.